Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, trying. Thank you.
This week. And Tommy is by me. I believe I did all that without my microphone being on. So we're going to start from the top. Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We're up over 500 subscribers. Super excited about that. We're hoping to get to the 600 mark real soon. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also check us out on podcast platforms as well as we continue to try to build something kind of cool in the Quad Cities. If you missed yesterday's show, we had Pat Anger on. You can check him out. Also Rusty Van Wetsinga, the former Iowa product and now Central Michigan standout. We chatted with him. Check out those interviews on our YouTube channel. Also, we had, or I should say coming up today, we have Nicholas Baer joining us, former Bettendorf standout, former Hawkeye. He'll talk everything Iowa basketball, see where he's at with this team, if he's bullish on the Iowa Hawkeyes, and how quickly he thinks the Hawkeyes can make that next step, maybe become an NCAA tournament team. We have Nicholas Baer coming up in a little bit. Also for the Illini fans, our good friend Kedric Prince will be along in the second hour of the show to preview Indiana versus Illinois. A lot to get to when it comes to college basketball. We also have a good friend of mine, Tom Kakert, in-house. He was on last week on a Tuesday, so I guess we can start calling these Tommy Tuesdays. And I'm going to make sure you're mic'd up, Tom, because that's been a struggle for me so far. There you go. Hi, Tommy.
Working?
Yeah, I think your mic is working. I don't know why I have these
off
headphones
the
on,
air?
because sometimes,
Am I off the
I
air?
like to start the show by, showing that we are off the air. But how you been?
I'm good. I'm here.
Yes. It is a Tuesday. You were on last Tuesday. I might start calling these Tommy Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And I know people probably looking at this going, are we just going to talk all Iowa all the time? And we're
Sure.
not, because we're going to talk a little bit of Hawkeyes with you, but we got some other things to get into because we like to talk sports in general.
Sure.
You're one of my buddies that I talk a lot of sports with, so a lot of things to get to in the world of sports. But first, how was your weekend? Everything good?
Yeah, it was a good atmosphere at Carver Hawkeye on Saturday night for the Indiana game. I got to see a lot of former players. Got to see our friend Mike Gazelle. Got to see Nicholas Baer, who'll be on with you today. Kenyon Murray. A lot of guys that I hadn't seen in a while. And got to see our good friend Jerry Palmer was there. So Got to see Jerry.
God bless Jerry Palmer.
So
I got to get Jerry on the show.
yeah, he
Do I?
said he would. So he's down.
There were some stipulations I don't quite agree with when it comes to Jerry. But you know what? I've been not sick recently, but like over the weekend, I wasn't feeling the best in the world. Have you ever like gotten sick?
I'm the best in the world.
Take it easy. There's a Seth Rollins that would disagree with that. But
Bring him on.
Have you ever gotten sick and then like you start feeling better and all you want to do is eat?
Sure.
Like that's where I'm at right now. Like I didn't eat a lot the last couple days, and now like
what are you eating? Chick-fil-A again?
No, I actually stopped after I took the kids to school, and I got McDonald's for breakfast, which by the way
Wow.
is one of the most underrated breakfasts you'll find. A McGriddle in the morning is really
Never
really
had
good.
a McGriddle.
This is the same guy that doesn't eat Chick-fil-A breakfast either. Have you had Chick-fil-A breakfast?
I did at Maryland. I told you
And?
this. It was okay.
Why do you always have such disdain when you talk about Chick-fil-A?
It's okay. It's not a. It's
So
okay.
So that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm like starving. I'm already thinking about
It's
lunch.
better than I did have when we were in Nashville. We had Zaxby's. Chad Lysico
Yeah.
and John Steppe and I had Zaxby's.
Yeah, I didn't like Zaxby's when we went. It was okay.
Thumbs down.
See, I would say Zaxby's is
good.
okay. I would say Chick-fil-A is like
No,
the best of the best when it comes
Cane's is about 5 levels higher than Zaxby's.
Where are you with Cane's and Chick-fil-A?
I would rather have Cane's.
Because of the sauce.
I like the sauce. I like the fact they give me a piece of bread.
No, you get bread with Chick-fil-A. It's a bun.
I know.
It's a
but
sandwich.
I know.
Oh man, Tommy.
I like the tendies.
Are you one other
Me
little
and Dom
thing,
Mysterio, we like tendies.
one other little thing that I've been ranting about this weekend is, are you a Costco guy?
I've never, well, I shouldn't say I've never been to Costco. I've never been to the Costco here.
Okay.
I don't shop there.
So like I like
Because
it.
I don't
We-
have 12 kids.
No, we just started. We have to because I have to feed an army, and I think it's great. I'm not complaining about it. But have you ever gotten gas at a Costco?
No.
So if you go over the one in Davenport, I feel like there's too much pressure and stress in getting gas. It's got like 6 different lanes, 3 different pumps. You have to wait in line, and then when a light opens up, you got to go around, and it's like 8 deep, and you feel like you're at a pit crew for NASCAR. We have to jump out.
How much are you paying less?
A lot, I think. Like I yesterday got it for $253, and it was like
Is it worth
$289.
your time?
It was 10 minutes, which yes, it is. But like I think people are judging me. Like I feel like the people behind me are going like, he's not going as fast as he could be, and that's annoying me. So
I wouldn't wait probably because I just feel like I'm wasting time.
Well,
time.
Not all of us have money to waste, Tommy.
No,
We're trying to be
I know.
thrifty. And
I just go to Hy-Vee and get the points and
the
go
fuel
to the
saver.
Hy-Vee. Yeah.
No, that's my rant. It's like I just feel like I love Costco. Like I've gotten a lot of good stuff for a family of mine. Like we need it. We use it big time. But like it's just stressful when it comes to gas. So anyways, over on that side of the river, there has been a commitment for the University of Iowa when it comes to a kicker.
Yeah.
I saw him.
You know
this
way
fall.
more about him than I do.
Yeah, I saw him this fall.
kick against Iowa City West.
Was that the playoff game?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a big leg.
Yeah. I can't remember the game it was, but I was at a game at Bettendorf this year.
He's
and
had a 50-yarder.
He kicked a 56-yarder with ease. Like, I mean, it would have gone in. I mean, it was 10 yards plus, and it was from 56 yards. So he's got a big leg. Obviously, Iowa has a kicker for next season,
Drew
but
Stevens.
a nice piece to add to the Iowa special teams room.
Yeah, they had, Trip Woody was their backup last year, and he's at Syracuse now. So they had to go out and get somebody to be a backup. So they have that now, and he'll be a guy that they can potentially groom. Remember, they had Scott Starzak as the committed kicker, and then he ended up flipping to Michigan. So, this is a good get. I mean, we'll see if where he develops. I would imagine that next year they'll bring somebody in as well to you got to have 2 kickers, you got to have 2 punters, got to have two guys that'll snap the ball to them.
Yeah.
So
I always love the Quad City connection with the University of Iowa. And right now, when it comes to the actual football team, Tom,
it's Joey
and Caden, and am I missing
I'm trying to think. There's
like area wise too? Oh,
the long kid from Durant.
and the Kyler, the kid from North Scott.
Oh, Kyler Girardi.
Kyler Girardi. So yeah, there is. But back in the day, and you can remember too. I remember we would go up for media days, and it would be like Pat, Julian, Brett, Colin Sandeman, Mitch King was up there. Although Mitch would always. One of my favorite stories was we were having media day, and TC was up there, and I love Tom Cornelis, and he asked Mitch. He's like, "So what's it feel like having all these Quad City kids with you?" And like straight faced, Mitch was like, "I don't understand the question." He's like, well, all these Quad City kids with you, it's got to feel good. And he goes, I'm from Burlington. And he's just like, well, I guess I should say Mac kids. And like Mitch was like, okay, that makes sense. And then he went on to talk. I'm just like, Mitch was a little like surly going into his senior season. So, but there used to be a ton of them. And I guess there's a decent amount right now. But it's always good to see that connection between the University of Iowa and the Quad Cities.
When are you going to get an Illini helmet up there?
You'll hear from Ked later on. He's been pushing me about that as well. I may get one soon.
Because you're an Illini guy.
I might. What I won't put on my desk is any Bears crap.
What if I bring a Bears thing?
I won't put it on there. Did you like my tractor that Andrew Lehman brought me?
Yeah, I've got one of those at home.
Quit bragging. Mine's signed by Davis Thompson.
Mine's signed by this Jordan Spieth kid.
I got it, Jordan's. Okay, never mind. We're not going to get into that whole thing. Iowa got a new quarterback. We'll finish our Iowa talk with you and then get into some other stuff. They got a new quarterback last week. I think that was the big news when you were in last time. We were trying to figure out when he was going to commit. And I think there was like not a panic, but a little scare.
A Friday news dump.
Yeah, like a little scare in the fan base that he's going to have surgery in the offseason. It's on a torn labrum. Tell us about it. And should Iowa fans? I asked Pat Angerer last night or yesterday. Should Iowa fans be worried about this whole because they have it
would be great if he could practice this spring and work with the receivers and work on the offense. Obviously, that would be the ideal situation, but you just want the guy. I mean, and I get there's scar tissue from the previous quarterback and him coming in as quote unquote damaged goods, if you will. He was coming off surgery on his knee, but everything I've heard is that this is pretty routine, and he'll be ready to go. He'll get the reps in this summer, work with his teammates, and he'll be fine.
So I agree with everything you just said, but as an Iowa fan base that just got done bringing in a transfer quarterback that had injuries,
I totally understand the anxiety.
That's what I'm going to say. The anxiety of this is kind of, and it's a position which Iowa has not seemed to catch a break in a long time. Nate Stanley is Nate Stanley the best? Is Nate Stanley the last good Iowa quarterback? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yeah. Although there's some people that think that Spencer's going to get drafted. I don't believe that.
Really?
Yeah. Or that maybe not drafted, but he'll end up on an NFL roster.
I could see that just because of get him in a quarterback room as a practice squad guy and then eventually be a coach. He seemed pretty.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, when it comes to that kind of stuff, but he's not an NFL quarterback, bless his heart. So Iowa basketball, and we have Nicholas Baer coming up in just a little bit to talk a lot about Iowa basketball.
Big game tonight.
So I don't want to have you talk a ton of Iowa basketball and then have him talk.
Do you want to talk about kind of the situation for them out in LA?
Yeah,
because I think that's been interesting. Because I was talking to some people on Saturday because they were leaving Sunday to go out to LA, and mind you, I think we all know what's been going on in LA the last week with the wildfire and everything that happened at Palisades and inching towards Santa Monica, Brentwood, all that area. Been even around the Rose Bowl, and that's the hills that I was looking at you're looking at from the stadium. There fires up in there, that area, I think. So, tragic situation. The UCLA game, they were supposed to host Northwestern in women's basketball, and that got canceled or postponed on Sunday because that was Northwestern's decision not to go out there. But the USC women played on Sunday, hosted Penn State. They played at the Galen Center, which is where USC plays their basketball games, and they played there, and it was fine. Talked to people who are down there or who went out with Iowa. They flew out on Sunday, and said they really didn't notice anything. They just landed and that was it. And off to the hotel. Said walking around, they're staying downtown, and walking around, you can sense some smoke in the air. And
I was going to say, like, is there stench
some,
maybe,
and there's just a kind of the air quality issue, and there's some people they're recommending wearing masks and things like that, the N95s that will prevent the air particles getting into your lungs and things like that, which makes sense. But the big question, so they're going to play tonight at USC. That game's on. Everything's good there. The big question is the main fire is near the UCLA campus. In fact, campus is closed right now. So the question is this going to be okay by Friday where the campus can open up? And if not, what do they do? Well, they're going to play, I think it's a women's game maybe, at Long Beach State.
Okay.
On Wednesday, I believe. So what was told to me on Saturday was maybe they even just play the men's game Friday night against UCLA at USC.
Is that a scheduled Friday night game?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Tuesday, Friday out there.
Tuesday, Friday. Yeah, the game tonight's really late, 9:40 our time.
Yeah, you have to stay up late.
I know. I don't know how I'm going to stay awake.
I love that kind of stuff because you can watch the other stuff that goes on. You can even go to, I got to practice. I got to deal with a fourth grade team.
I don't like it because I got to work after I get done. I go to bed early. I'm old.
You are old. Well, and that's the thing is I think with the, and you brought up a good point to me yesterday because I was just thinking, heck, if the NFL game got moved, like they might be moving the basketball games or postponing the basketball games, but I didn't realize that stadium out there is open air.
SoFi.
So I just, you see me look at it and you think, wow, that's a nice dome stadium.
And it is dome, but on the ends of it, it's open air.
Okay. And you can't shut, obviously.
Yeah, you can't shut those.
Okay,
things.
I didn't know if they had
so there was an air quality issue, and the Rams are still dealing with. I mean, their practice facility had to be evacuated.
Yeah, I wonder where they end up practicing as they get ready for Philly. We'll talk a little about the NFL here in a little bit. Big game for Iowa. Maybe talk a little bit more later on the show after Nicholas, but just a pick for you. I know it's like a pick'em game in Vegas.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on? I mean, is this the easier of the two games out there? Correct.
Probably.
UCLA's been struggling.
UCLA has been struggling.
But they feel like they're ready. Like I'm a.
They lost last night.
They
lost last night. Oh, they lost at Maryland the other night, and McCronin got tossed.
Yeah.
Heinz Anderson tossed him.
They have another game before Iowa, don't they?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, the Iowa's going to be running into a buzz. I mean,
and they lost at Rutgers last night.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
they lost at Rutgers last night. Dylan Harper had a good game. He's back
pretty good.
Healthy. He had not played well. Missed the Indiana game and then had not played well. But boy, he played well last night. So, UCLA's struggling. They've got some injuries. So
yeah. But so is USC the more gettable game, or are they both gettable?
Both gettable. USC is weird. I mean, they
just beat the Illini by double figures in Champaign.
I know,
and
they lost by 15 at Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, they scored 36 points against St. Mary's.
You know that they have 11 of their 14 players on scholarship are transfer guys.
Yeah, that's Muss.
Yeah, I mean he came from Arkansas, and that's
what he does.
That's the thing with that is you always wait to see how long it clicks.
So here's the key. The key tonight is their point guard player. He's more of a point guard, but Desmond Cloud. He had 31 against Illinois the other day. If he has a big game, if he's playing well, USC is tough to beat. If he plays sloppy, he's turning it over, just not shooting it well, whatever, then they're very beatable. They don't have much size. Josh Cohen is like their starting center tonight, if you will. He's 6'10", but he only averages like 3 rebounds a game.
So like Owen Freeman.
So Owen Freeman could have it for those who might be looking to do things on there. Yeah.
So
Owen
we'll look at
Freeman?
those. We'll look at those. We have commercial breaks to look at those kind of things.
Yes.
But we'll leave Iowa for a second. Tommy's in house for me throughout the entire show. We'll have Tommy on for a little bit. We have Nicholas Baer coming up. Also, Kedric Prince in the second hour. Talk a little bit more with Tommy, and then look ahead to tomorrow as well. And some good guests coming up this week. Dan Pearson is going to join me on Thursday. Talk about like that Mount Rushmore of sportscasters here in the Quad Cities. His face is on that. Somebody very important to me, a mentor to me. And also, I've been texting with our good friend Dan Burrich this morning.
The wild man.
So I'm efforting to get the wild man on. Hopefully tomorrow.
Hopefully his lovely and talented wife Kelly can help Dan get on here.
That's what everyone tells me is technology is going to be in the bugaboo.
Technology is the challenge with
But
Mr.
I
Burridge.
have faith in the old fella. And I say that with all love, but I have faith that he'll be able to get it done, because that's the reason why I like doing these kind of things is and growing up listening to K-Jack, that was my first exposure of sports talk. And obviously it's a different form now, not radio or anything like that, although radio does exist.
You haven't lived in the business until you got yelled at by Dan Burridge.
I needed to get yelled at by Dan Burridge. Like, I tell people that all the time. These nowadays, like, you can't like yell at young people, and I needed it. Like, it was the only thing I needed to actually maybe get on the not straight and narrow. I was a good kid, but just, sometimes when you need a little tough love. So maybe Dan Burridge tomorrow. That's our hope. And then we're also going to catch up with there's a national championship game coming up in which we have a local product in it, Charles Jugasol. So we're going to talk with Fritz Diodone tomorrow, his former coach at Alleman, and kind of get a
Happy
little
for
perspective
Charles.
on him. Yeah.
Great kid.
Yep.
Love
It
Charles.
goes back to he golfed in my dad's golf outing.
Yeah.
And good things happen when you golf in my
And he
dad's
went to
golf outing.
Alleman.
Yes. Well, like Charles golfs in the golf outing. They're playing for national championship. Luke Altmaier golfs in my dad's golf outing. He's now part of a 10-win Illinois program. Pat Anger golfs in my dad's golf outing. He's now the face of Iowa radio. I mean, those are the kind of just the small little examples of what happens, the karma you get when you golf. Did anything good happen to you after you golfed in my dad's golf outing?
Well, and
You had Snoops. That's good karma.
That's Snoops. You had, look what happened to Rusty, though.
He's in a great situation.
He is.
He's in a great situation. He's going to be back next year. I loved his interview yesterday. He flat out called out the Illini guys for cheating again.
Yeah.
On
They
record.
did. They always do.
On record, I got to send that
It's
to
a
Cole,
cheating
make sure he sees
program.
that. So are you, as a Bears fan, excited to see Mike McCarthy as your head coach?
No.
You still don't think that's going to happen?
I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yes.
I don't want it to happen.
Because
I don't.
I really do want it to happen. By the way.
I know you do. Because you're like an Iowa State fan.
I don't get that, but I'm not. The Bears are the furthest thing from a big brother to me.
No.
The furthest thing.
You're Iowa
They
State
haven't been good.
are obsessed.
They haven't been good.
You're obsessed with
They haven't been good. But
Bears football.
Take me out of this. As a Bears
No,
fan,
I
what
don't
would you like
want
to see
Mike
them do?
McCarthy. I want Ben Johnson. I wanted Mike Vrabel first.
I think as a hater, that's the guy I didn't want to see you guys get.
Mike Vrabel?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So, and I don't want to see Ben there because obviously that'll be awkward. and
I
weird.
would like. I would have liked Mike
But if
Vrabel.
it is Mike McCarthy, like, can you explain it? Or, I mean, because you look at it, he's done good with quarterbacks. There is a young, struggling quarterback. I'm kidding. Relax on the struggling part. There is a young quarterback, and he's did well with Aaron Rodgers. I think Dak got better under him, I think. So there's that aspect of it. And he's won everywhere he went. Maybe not to where you expected in Dallas with their payroll and their kind of stuff.
I don't want to reach for
I
it.
don't say payroll because that doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean.
I don't know. Is he John Fox then? Is he going to be John Fox?
But if he brings stability, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I'm just not in for it.
What did you
I'm
make?
out.
What did you make of the NFC North this weekend? Because for the entire season, everyone talked about how good it is. I think it's still very good as you look at my chest that it says Lions on it. But the Packers go to, and as a Bears fan, you probably loved it. The Packers go to Philly and lose, and then the Vikings last night. I mean, the bloom has fallen off of the rose that is Sam.
Well, the
Darnold.
Packers didn't finish very well this year.
Well, I mean, they lost their last game, but a lot of teams are going to lose.
They lost to the Bears too.
Oh, the Packers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Packers.
Yeah, I was thinking Vikings. Yeah, no, they lost their last 3 games.
Yeah, they struggled down the stretch.
Yeah.
If you start to wonder, is Jordan Love really that good?
Can we have that conversation?
Sure. I don't know that he is.
I mean, and I get like 6 years in, but only 2 years as a starter. And my rule is kind of 3. But like if you're in for 6, I think 2 is probably enough. If that makes sense. Those other 4 years as a backup counts as maybe
and
one
I
more.
think with the Vikings, at the end of somewhere in week 16, 17, Sam Darnold looked in the mirror and he realized he was Sam Darnold.
Did Aaron Glenn, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Lions fan, but did Aaron Glenn crack the code when it came to him? Because he got sacked, 9-10 times last night?
Yeah.
But as I'm watching, there's and I'm not like an expert when it comes to watching a play and watching, like you go back and look at film.
He's
but it
Sam
seems like
Darnold.
there was open receivers that he just simply didn't trust to throw the football to.
Well, I think
It wasn't all that offensive line's fault.
I think KOC got as much out of him as he could.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold was a victim of poor coaching. Same with Caleb Williams this year.
So next year, don't the Vikings just basically say, hey, here's the amount of money I can give you to like compete maybe with JJ McCarthy, but we're not going to give you any more than this.
Sam Darnold lost millions of dollars in the last 2 games.
But somebody's going to pay him a decent amount to be their starting quarterback next year. Maybe not big money.
Who?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of bad situations. If Russell Wilson's still starting as an NFL quarterback, and you go around the league and you look at some, like, are you like Vegas? If let's say Ben Johnson goes to Vegas, does he want to deal with Aiden O'Connell, or does he want to bring in?
Well, it depends if they draft somebody too.
I get that, but as a bridge guy,
if they're going to draft
sometimes
Shadur Sanders,
sometimes bridge guys turn into MVP type candidates. Jared Goff. No,
he's not an
MVP with me.
He's not an MVP candidate.
I didn't say he was going to win it.
He's not even a candidate.
He's a candidate. Gosh,
No, he's not.
Don't be that guy.
There are 2 guys who are candidates, and they're playing each other this weekend.
Josh, those are the front runners.
Those are the only 2 candidates.
If you're Heisman, and you say the top 5 MVP candidates, Jared Goff is in that conversation. Saquon is with those 2 quarterbacks.
There's 3 people.
If you have to invite 4 people to New York, see, I'm supposed to be the hater.
No, the guy threw 5 interceptions in the game.
You take that one game away. I have bad days.
Well,
my wife had a bad day. She married me. Like everyone has bad days, and they still won. They still won the game. Let's look at the beloved. And they play Washington this week. I don't want to get it, but a bigger picture, and don't be biased. If you could redraft as a Bears fan, who would you take with the first pick in the draft? Did they make a mistake? Did they pick their own quarterback? Is it too early to say that?
It's too early to say that. Caleb Williams was a victim of circumstance. He didn't have a fighting chance.
But you can't tell me that when preseason everyone told me he was going into the best situation ever for a rookie quarterback. So was everybody wrong early, or everybody
from personnel?
Wrong now?
He was. There were all the tools. They had bad chefs.
Yeah, I understand. That's actually a decent analogy. I mean, I can understand that.
They had
His
bad
coaching
chefs.
staff wasn't the best.
Eberflus was terrible, and Shane Waldron was awful.
So who made those decisions to have those people in place?
The Kevin Warren,
Chef Poles.
Yeah.
So you trust that guy with going on and moving forward with what's going to happen? I get the whole concept of everything, but you look at Washington and what they had, and they have a first-year head coach in Dan Quinn. I know that people love
Dan Quinn's a retread.
But first year with them.
He got put in a Jaden Daniels got put in a very good situation because he had a quarterback coach.
See, it's mind-boggling to me that
he had an offensive coach who is a good quarterback coach, but not a good head coach. Cliff Kingsbury.
I understand the Kingsbury factor there, but it's just for me. It's tough for me to get over the fact that people pounded into my head that this is the best situation ever for an NFL quarterback. They either have to say, "Yeah, I was completely wrong about that," or they have to say, "Yeah, you're right."
I was always.
I'm not saying you in general.
I was anti. I said they should have fired Eberflus and brought in somebody who can coach a quarterback.
Yes,
that's what you do. And Shane Waldron failed in Seattle. What made you think he was going to have success?
I completely agree. It was
a stupid hire.
Yes, I completely agree with all that. Also, you build within
typical
the trenches.
of the organization.
Yeah. You also build within the trenches, and they started down that path correctly. Darnell Wright 2 years ago
Jenkins
was a good pick, and that kind of, and they went away from they started seeing nice toys instead of looking at like how you build an NFL team through the trenches. And look at this too, Tom. The top 6 teams in the NFL when it comes to rushing all made the postseason. So I know everyone focuses on quarterback.
We're having a renaissance.
What's that?
If you will,
Yes.
a renaissance.
Yes, and so
which is why if I were the Bears, I would be drafting Caleb Johnson early in the second round.
So it's funny because you bring that up, and it was like taboo to like draft a running back early. I mean, even second round was kind of crazy. And now, like you look at what Jahmyr Gibbs has done, and Bijan Robinson has done, and the value of a running back. Like, can't you see an Ashton Genty go in the first round?
Yeah.
Can't you see a Caleb Johnson go in the second round?
I could see Dallas drafting Ashton Genty.
Yeah, depends on who gets that gig. But yeah, no, I can definitely see it as well.
What if they hired Dion?
Who?
Dion.
That's what I started reading this morning. That's actually maybe possibly a thing.
That's weird. It'd be weird if they hired Dion.
Before we get to Nicholas Baer coming up in just a few moments here.
Bear
off the air
Cage.
with Matt Randazzo. Bear Cage.
Freshly married Bear Cage.
Yes. And you know what? He takes this Iowa basketball stuff, I don't want to say serious when it comes, because obviously he's a former player, but like he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And so really excited to have the Bear Cage join us in just a few minutes. And then also coming up in the second hour, we'll talk Illinois basketball with Kedric Prince. All you Illini fans that are watching this and wondering when we're going to do that, that's coming up soon. Later in the week, Dan Pearson will be on board. Hopefully we're efforting on Dan Birch as well. And we'll talk some high school sports here coming up. I think the first week or so of the show, we haven't gotten too deep into some high school stuff just yet. We're going to start doing a little more high school stuff as we move along here on Off the Air
Big
with
game
Matt
tonight over in Wharton Fieldhouse.
It's Quincy and Moline.
Quincy and Moline tonight.
You know what? Maybe if Sean Taylor and Moline gets it done tonight, maybe I can sneak Sean Taylor on here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have you seen Quincy play?
Have not.
My son went down there for Owlman last week. I didn't make the trip on Friday. They were down 45 at half, but and he was just. I mean, that's a really good basketball team.
Yeah. They got
It's
some.
really, really
They got some
basketball
talent. This is gonna be a good game tonight.
I asked one of the veteran Owlman coaches, like, how good is that team? I said, were they better than like Moline a few years ago? And he thinks probably.
I wanted to go over tonight, but I just with Iowa playing, I don't think I can because I was.
The game's at 7:00.
At 7:30.
Yeah, 7:15, 7:30.
I know, but
You're out of there by 8:45.
I gotta drive. I'm just not.
You're getting to be old, Tommy. I'm a little worried about it.
No, I wanted to go over because I wanted to see Braden play,
Yeah.
Braden Freeman, and sit with the Freemans and watch the game, but just not going to happen.
Yeah, Quincy's super talented. I believe they have Rock Island coming up soon as well. In fact, I want to say it's Friday, but I'm not as in tune with. Usually by Tuesday, back in my former life, I would know the matchups for the entire week already on a Tuesday. I'd be working on the rundown and all that kind of stuff for the Friday show. So, we'll start getting a little bit more into the Western Big Six side of things in basketball, and also the MAC as well. Some super talented teams over there. Some teams that have a ton of talent that have maybe struggled a little bit early on.
Girls teams too.
Yes, and talented
with,
individual
Davenport,
players as well.
Davenport North.
You know what's funny is Davenport North has awesome talent. Pleasant Valley just keeps winning games.
Yeah.
What they do, they knocked off North, I think, last week by 15 points. I mean, It's just, and they have a ton of talent too. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of talent in the MAC and the Western Big Six. So we'll get more into the high school realm of things as we move along on the show here throughout the weeks ahead and stuff as well. So, all right, Tommy, before we go and get to Nicholas, the NFL. We'll talk the college national championship, I think, after we talk to Nicholas. But since we've been talking NFL, give me the NFC championship and the AFC championship. Now that you know the matchups, start in the AFC.
I think it's going to be Buffalo and Kansas City.
Okay. No Lamar going to Buffalo, and that's the game of the weekend, correct?
Oh, yeah.
If you're a gambler, and I'm not biased, and I don't gamble on the Lions.
I just think Josh Allen has that look in his eye.
Yeah.
He's just, and I know my Kansas City friends will be like, oh, well, it's still got Pat Mahomes. Yep. But I think Josh Allen. This is the Josh Allen's moment right here.
No, I mean, and that's the I think not this game, but what we're getting into that era of like how those two quarterbacks are defined. Because both Lamar and Josh, one, need to win a big game here, and then you mentioned the one later. Because I think if you're a gambler, and I am, I think the obvious tease this weekend is taking Kansas City and taking Detroit in some type of tease or money line or something like that, putting those two together.
I'm picking Washington.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why, are you just being a prick, or what's the?
Pat Anger told me to.
You know he's poking the bear. He was on here last night saying how much he loves Dan Campbell and the Lions. He just likes to get me fired up on the old text thread.
No, he knows pro football.
All right, so Washington, and then who you got in the other one?
Rams. Matt Stafford getting there.
As a Lions fan, I want no part of Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. Like, it was the same thing last year, Lions in the playoffs for the first time, Matthew Stafford coming to town. It was an absolute dogfight. And then they opened the season this year, and it was another absolute dogfight. And, like, I would much rather deal with a Philadelphia team that I know you and I and our good friend Chad Leistico were texting this morning, but I'm not overly blown away with the Eagles. I know they're really good up front. I know they're really good on defense, and they run the ball well, but Jalen Hurts doesn't scare me that much.
No. And McVay's really good.
Yeah.
He's a good coach.
No, they were 1-4, and I was pounding the drum for if they get healthy, and they did, that they're a really good football team that'll make the postseason and probably win a game. And so far so good. I don't know if they win two. I'm still gonna go Lions, Eagles, and I might go Ravens. I haven't figured that one out yet, but we got time to talk.
I'm on the. I've had Bills fans in my life that are good people.
Well, you have Lions fans in your life that are good people. You threw that out the window.
Yeah, but they don't talk trash about the Bears all day.
Maybe I'm not good people.
They don't talk trash about the Bears all day.
Always, as much as I possibly can. He's Tom Kakert. He's hanging out with me on a Tuesday. Coming up after the break, we got a lot more to get to. We'll be chatting with former Bettendorf standout, former Hawkeye. Trying to get my stuff all in line here. Former Hawkeye Nicholas Baer. USC and Iowa tonight, late night, 9:30. We'll be right back as the Bear Cage joins us right after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air. It's a Tuesday in the Quad Cities, a big night of college basketball. You're going to have to stay up late if you want to watch the Hawkeyes. It's a 9:30 start here in the Midwest. And when it comes to the Iowa basketball program, I've been lucky enough to get to cover a lot of local kids, and that's where we bring in our next guest. It's funny because Nicholas Baer is not a local kid anymore. He's a grown man. Nicholas Baer, former Hawkeye, former Bettendorf Bulldogs, join me now. First and foremost, Nicholas, thank you for taking the time. You look good. How's everything in Nicholas Baer's life?
Things are going well. I know I'm grown into manhood now, but I'll always be a Quad City kid at heart by all means. So no, things are good. Been a crazy past year, which has been awesome, but I'm excited to be in the thick of basketball season now as we head into January here.
Yeah. Before we get talking about the Hawkeyes and all that good stuff, and there's no better person to talk to than you, people wondering what Nicholas Baer is up to. I don't know how you did it, but you convinced some lovely lady to actually marry you. So what's Nicholas Baer up to? And congratulations, my man. It was a big year.
Yes, thank you. I convinced my lovely wife, Emma Kate Wichman, a former Pleasant Valley Spartan and state track champion. So she actually did have a chance to sign the Matt Randazzo wall as well. So she's got that to her name as well. So yes, wedding was lovely here in Des Moines. So yeah, let's not enlighten her. We're 4 or 5 months married now. No one clue her in. Please, we're really enjoying it. So it's been great. But had a great year. Had my brother Michael Baer be my best man, which is pretty special, and had a bunch of Hawks come back and get a chance to see everybody and celebrate. So been a crazy year, but yeah, excited for 2025 too.
Yeah, I kind of joke. I've been convincing or fooling my wife for 15, 16, 17 years now, so hopefully she never figures it out. You mentioned Pleasant Valley and Bettendorf earlier this week. We talked to Rusty Van Wetzinga, former PV guy, and he's going up to Central Michigan and playing for Matt Drinkle, a former Bettendorf guy. So there's a lot of this Bettendorf PV stuff going on. Do you guys get competitive when it comes to Bettendorf, PV, and all that kind of stuff, or not yet?
Not as much. I did have a chance to remind her after Bettendorf beat down the Spartans. My boys basketball team got that job done. So had a chance to do that. But no, on the whole, she'll get a chance to go watch Pleasant Valley girls track and field up at Drake Relays or at state track. So outside of that, not as much, but I'm sure maybe that'll change.
Okay, let's talk some Hawks. I know you're invested in this program and this team. You love watching them. I guess before we get specific, what are your thoughts on this team as we are, halfway through the college basketball season? What are your impressions on this group of Hawkeyes this year?
Yeah, overall, pretty bullish for me. And I was earlier to start the year too. I think as the year's gone on, I've become even more so. And honestly, Matt, the more things change, sometimes the more they stay the same too, especially with how the NIL, the transfer portals all kind of changed college athletics. That the whole evaluating this team, a lot of the guys that have been brought in maybe were still under recruited, under talent, maybe viewed as having less talent, but on the whole, the way Coach Kyver's been able to put a really good, strong squad together and a team that can really compete here in the Big Ten. So I'm excited. I think this team still has an opportunity to reach its ceiling a little bit more. We can talk about that a little bit later, but really thrilled with the past couple games as we get into Big Ten play here with how we've been able to compete and kind of grind out some wins.
Yeah, kind of talk about that because every program is different. Iowa's getting ready to play USC, and I think I read today 11 of 14 players on their roster are transfer guys. Fran, and I think I would even say Kirk in the football side of things, have done a nice way of supplementing through the transfer portal, getting those guys they need to, but as you know, they're all about developing basketball players. Heck, they developed a guy who Curtis Clark wouldn't let shoot a three-pointer into one of the most prolific three-point shooters in the Big Ten. I have to get a dig. You're
never going to let him live that down. You're never going to let him live
that. But they like to develop still. So talk about how they've done a good job of mixing the transfer portal with what Fran's kind of known for, and that's eyeing talent and developing talent.
Yeah, I think you described it pretty well there, supplementing the roster. I think on the whole, really still prioritizing guys coming out of high school, being able to develop into players at the Big Ten level. But on the whole, kind of looking at the transfer portal more as a way to add to the team and not be the foundations of a team perhaps. So, you look at guys like Drew Thelwell, I think it specifically, really come in, has been a huge asset for Iowa basketball this year from a defensive standpoint specifically, but just energy, leadership, a guy coming out of Morehead State, which maybe wasn't the highest level program, but like being able to come in and really compete and make an impact at the Big Ten level. I think that was been a great ad. Staying with Seydou Traore, more of a long-term guy, considering he's a sophomore, but really finding guys that fit our scheme and what we want to do and how we can continue to compete. So on the whole, been pretty impressed.
Boy, Nicholas, you look at last week, and that's a lot of fun. You've been part of weeks like that for Iowa basketball, but at one point they're down 15 in the second half against Nebraska and staring at maybe being 3-1 in conference play, and they come back and get that victory. What does a win like that do for a program or a team, and especially when you look at what they did after that by going and beating Indiana, I think by the most in series history? First, start with the comeback. What does a comeback say about this team to be able to rally the troops when things didn't look good?
Yeah, I mean, it was getting dark there for a minute. Kind of like you mentioned, looking at potentially 1-3 in Big Ten play, coming off the heels of that Wisconsin game, which was not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. So to come back from 15, I was most impressed with Peyton, probably, having a chance to come back. I don't think obviously not scoring in the first half and then coming back and finishing the game with 31 points and really being the spark that we needed. But, guys kind of contributing all across the board. I had a chance to just look at the stats, some of the stats here today. 4 guys in double figures, and then Brock and Price averaging about 9.8, 9.3. So guys really coming in and being able to have a balanced class across the floor has been super helpful. But, I mean, I've been in those situations, specifically within a basketball program. Sometimes you look up, and to maybe different programs, being down 15 is like a death sentence. But, with the way we could score the ball, we always knew we had a chance to, execute and get back in the game pretty quickly. So, guys fought really well, shot the absolute piss out of the ball, which that's going to help your chances to get back in the game too. So, really pretty impressed. Some of the late game execution, being able to figure all that out. But kind of like you mentioned too, I was really, really thrilled with that win against Indiana. I was actually in the house for that, so I had a chance to go to Iowa City, be in Carver. It was alumni night, so I had a chance to go back with Peter Jock, Mike Cassell, Austin Ash, and Charlie Rose. So some of my old buddies getting a chance to see them and getting to see a beat down of that Hoosier team. So speaking of that too, would it surprise you with that kind of, we're talking like NIL and just in general how some of the landscapes changed, that Indiana basketball team is rumored to have an NIL salary of around $7 million. Did you see $7 million worth of basketball on that floor? Because that's not what I saw.
No, I didn't, but I think that has something to say. I don't want to bash Coach Woodson too much, but I think that has a lot to do with what happens at the top. And we'll talk a little bit about maybe Fran McCaffrey. I know he's your guy, but some apathy in the program when it comes to Fran. And I don't think people realize, I mean, it was the same thing when I was young and Dr. Tom, people don't realize what they have until they're gone. And I think that might be a great sign of what Fran gets out of what he has. And I mean, it's not well spent money if that's the case. I didn't know it was the $7 million. Look at you dropping knowledge.
Yeah.
That's
what you bring me on the Off the Air podcast for. That's it. That's
why I paid you the big bucks.
The inside information, that's me.
No, I love it.
Exactly.
Talk about Saturday night, because they shot it well, and I want to double down on a guy that you just mentioned in Peyton Sanford, and maybe he needs to start a little quicker on the West Coast, but to do what he did back-to-back games, he's Big Ten Player of the Week, but I think this team only goes as far as he takes them. And I don't mean that in he's the one-trick pony guy, because there's a lot of talent on the team. But you look at Iowa basketball, and I talked to Jess Settles about this last week. Everybody's senior years, you had somebody, the Matt Gatons, the Peter Jock you just mentioned, Jared Utoffs, Luka Garza's, Murray. It's a long list, but it's usually Iowa has that senior leader, that senior star. And in my opinion, he's got to be that guy, and he's been that guy last week. He's pretty important to this ball club when it comes to that ceiling of how good they can be.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that too. I know Coach always kind of talks about this is so and so's team. Like when it was Luka's team, it was Keegan's team, and this is without a doubt this is Peyton Sanford's team. And I think for the reason I'm still pretty bullish on the squad is we're 12-4 right now, and I think if you ask, even if you talk with Peyton, I think there's definitely a few games where he would have wanted to play a little bit better throughout this season, but he's really finding his stride now. I think for him, definitely the kind of guy that I want leading the team, someone who's bleeds black and gold, but also can perform at a really high level, can really get it going and turn a game around pretty quickly. So for him, I mean, I think right now he's shooting 35% from three currently this season. I think you've asked him, like, that's definitely a number he's expecting to get a little bit higher throughout as the season goes on, and a number I expect as well. So for me, I think I've been pretty impressed with a few other guys. Well, obviously our Quad City boys, Brock and Owen, but also Josh Dix has been playing at a super high level. And I think the more I look at it, I think it's more likely that Peyton's going to raise his level and be able to kind of bring this team, continue to raise this team's ceiling a little bit. So thrilled for him. A guy who's really passionate about, being an Iowa Hawkeye. I always want to see those guys succeed.
You mentioned the Quad City kids. We'll talk about them in a second, but you brought up Josh Dix, and I used you last week on the show several times because you tweeted out about Josh Dix, and I think you're right. He's playing at a first-team All-Big Ten level. Small sample size, only 5 games in, but Nicholas, he's so efficient. Like, he's getting his, and it comes in the offense, and it doesn't need – when you got a guy like Peyton – and you got a guy like Owen, there's only one basketball, and he's doing it at such an efficient level. Can you talk about efficiency and how good he's playing, considering there's only one basketball to go around?
I want him to shoot more. That's my biggest complaint when I watch him is, like, I feel like sometimes he turns down, like, decent looks that I'm like, oh, hey, that'd be a good look. But he usually, like, shot fakes to get a better look for either himself or somebody else. But, these splits are pretty remarkable. 58% from the field in Big Ten play, 58% from three, 100% from the line, and a 4-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. He's the best 2-guard in the league right now. And I think the thing that I've been pretty impressed with, too, is obviously, Coach McCaffrey X's and O's. He'll call sets for days to get guys open and be able to analyze, who we're playing and what's going to work out pretty well, like we did against Nebraska. But he can go one-on-one. Like, he's a guy I feel very comfortable with going off the dribble, shake and bake, pull up twos, like, doesn't always need a screen really to create for himself or for others. So been pretty impressive, and for him to be, performing at that high of a clip, like, again, raises the ceiling and also raises the floor too of this team. So I have him. I don't get a vote, unfortunately, but I have him on my first team All Big Ten ballot so far. So hopefully he can continue in that vein.
Look at you bringing stats too. This is about.
I come prepared for the Off the Air with Matt Randazzo podcast, man. I'm not Joe Schmo just rolling up here, man.
I love it. I love it. Hey, you like to play defense. It was one of your fortes. A couple games ago, Iowa goes up to Madison, gives up 116. They get roasted and the fan base is, sky is falling. Iowa never plays defense. I'm tired of this, all this kind of stuff. Talked to Brock last week on the show. People can go back and watch that if they'd like to on the YouTube channel. And he talked about that's not a Fran thing. That's a guys not doing their job thing. Can you talk about defense in this program, how it's coached, how it's preached, all those kind of things, and give your perspective, a pretty good one, on defense in Iowa basketball?
Yeah, I think just going off of that Wisconsin game too, it reminded me a lot of a game that I unfortunately played against Purdue, against that Chris Street game. They rained down 23s on us. It was, you feel like you're just kind of like at someone else's mercy, which isn't a great feeling. And that game reminded me of that. Obviously, Wisconsin 21-31, but on the whole, I think that was more of an outlier, and here's why. One of the things that Coach McCaffrey has a style is really prided himself on is, like, changing defenses, mixing up defenses, kind of, mixing in 2-3 zone, 3-2 zone, man-to-man. And I think one thing I've noticed specifically this year, a little bit last year, but mostly this year, is really a commitment to man-to-man principles and things that have kind of changed even since I played that I picked up on. I think on the whole, some of these guards, Brock specifically, Drew specifically, doing a pretty good job of staying, like, good on-ball defense, which I think has been something that's been a welcome change a little bit. But on the whole, I know it's easy to look at, like, 116 against that game against Wisconsin, just chalk it up to, another poor defensive performance, kind of, same old. But what I've seen from this team kind of this year, that's definitely been, different, as well as how we've been defending, for the 3-point line specifically. So obviously that outlier against Wisconsin for sure. But outside of that, this team's given up 28% from three, and which would rank top 30 nationally. I'm seeing a lot more high-level contests, double contests on threes. You're not necessarily leaving great shooters, being able to identify who the poor shooters are, and making sure, letting them maybe not necessarily shoot wide open ones, but not giving up the wide open ones to the guys who are shooting at a high clip. So I've been noticing a few different things that way. Obviously during my time in the program, I pride myself on defense and being able to, contribute on both ends of the floor, but definitely seeing a few different schematic changes in the program, specifically in this past year. And I think some of that might have to do with, a few new faces on staff being able to implement some changes, but on the whole, that's why I'm a little bit more bullish too. I think the biggest area where we probably got to improve that I'm still a little concerned about is the rebounding. I think right now, there's been a couple games where just giving up offensive rebounds, second chance points has been a killer. Obviously great that we're getting teams to miss, but, a few areas, I think that's probably the biggest area from the defensive rebounding standpoint, and be able to run and get out that way.
We mentioned you are a Quad City kid at the start of the show or the segment. There's two of them. And as you know, because you went through it, I have an extreme bias towards Quad City kids, especially ones that go to the University of Iowa. And I wear that. And I'm a Brock Harding guy. I've known the guy since the kid since he was a kid, if that makes sense. And I love Owen. Got to meet him when he transferred to Moline, and a fantastic human being. What are you seeing from them? And I guess let's start with Brock, because everyone told me once Big Ten play started, he was going to struggle. Some of his good games early on, the haters on social media came at me with like, well, he's playing this team or that team. 10 assists is pretty good in the Big Ten, I think. And he's leading the conference in assists. I know he's not perfect, and there's room to work, but your thoughts on Brock Harding, sophomore year, kind of the first year as a starter and a big-time minutes type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, double, 10 points, 10 assists against Indiana ain't bad, by any means. So I've been thrilled with Brock. I think the biggest step forward I've seen with him is being a little bit more confident as a scorer. As much as he's a facilitator and will get guys involved, hit guys in the shot pocket, get guys open, and put them in positions to be successful, which is what coach always wants. Like, that even that last game against Indiana, turning down a screen, hitting a pull-up three, like that's obviously big for Brock just in general for his confidence. But forcing the opponents to guard him as a threat to shoot from the outside, as a threat to score whenever. I noticed that a little bit last year. Maybe teams were sagging off, for like daring him to shoot, and he's shooting that with confidence now. Really getting to the rim at a decent level, and it was kind of funny. I know there were a couple times in the Indiana game, he gets in the paint. Obviously, he's a little undersized, but just kept his dribble, circled around a couple times, ended up finding a shooter. Like didn't pick up his dribble. Did a really nice job. So, been impressed with him that way. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier too on the defensive end, like doing a pretty good job staying in front and being willing to take charges, which you got to do at his size, right? So, on the whole, like I've been, thrilled for him, impressed with it, but also not surprised at all. I had a chance to work out with Brock quite a bit growing up, and dude's a winner. He finds a way. So I'm thrilled for him, and obviously hope he can continue it here as the season goes on.
I got to stay on that because you did, I think, probably in the Jordan Delp Dome with all my banners above you.
Yes.
You did
yes,
work out.
We were very inspired seeing those banners. It
it
was quite the inspiration.
Yes. But like, how old are you nowadays? You're going to make me feel old. Are you 20?
Dang, Matt. Goodness.
Are you 20? What are you right now?
I'm 28. I'm 28. I turned 29 in March.
So when he's working out with you and you guys are running, and I've heard about the games where all these studs from the Quad Cities came back and ran, he was probably younger and still as feisty and maybe annoying and all that kind of stuff. Kind of talk about those games, because from a young age, he's always been looking to, play the best competition he's possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, he's sophomore, going into his sophomore year, because I was trained to play professionally. And it was pretty much like me, Isaiah Roby, Nolan Ebel, Ethan Happ was there a couple times, like DJ Carden and Brock. Like it was a pretty good set of guys and people who are, mix of like really high level college and guys who are playing professionally. And Brock would, and myself as well. But it was a good group, and Brock just really came in and competed. Like, I remember him going up against Nolan every day, and you're not being afraid, but also like, not just holding his own, but also like getting a few wins here and there too. So I know he's always creative, he's always crafty, and someone who's definitely been a great addition to the program for sure.
All right. You mentioned rebounding, and I think myself and Tom Kakert and I do a Hawkeye Report podcast, and we've talked about that rebounding issue. You look at a guy like Owen Freeman, Big Ten freshman of the year last year. I don't know if you saw him after the game last week on Saturday, but he didn't like sharing that, and he even said so after the game against Indiana. But where do you see him? Because some people maybe considered a sophomore slump. He's been playing well. I know the ankles were a little gimpy for a few games, but 16-12 last time out. And when you need somebody inside right now, it's Owen Freeman, and then I don't know who else. What have you seen from Owen this year?
Yeah. I mean, it was never Co. Freshman of the year, apparently. Which I was surprised to kind of hear that in some of the post game, but it was also like I liked seeing that fire from Owen too. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but obviously when you have 16-12, it's hard to argue. So I think Owen's done a nice job. Obviously being part of that freshman of the year campaign was a huge part of our team last year, and for him still I think he's done a pretty consistent job this year. Obviously, I know we've touched on rebounding. Like, rebounding is a 5-person job. Whoever's all out there, it's it's guards, it's forwards, it's centers. Regardless of where you're at, everyone has a responsibility to help rebound. So I think that's on the rebounding front. Like, that's what happens sometimes. We play a little bit of an undersized lineup, Peyton at the 4. But on the whole, like, that's going to be like a 5-person responsibility. So on the whole, I mean, Owen's done a nice job. I think the only thing I've kind of seen a little bit is teams have kind of picked up on his quick spin baseline and a couple of his like spinning back, and I've seen that. It's kind of like an evolution. I noticed the same thing. Ethan ran into the same thing when he was playing at Wisconsin. Any like premier post player is going to end up getting double teamed. I think for him that was kind of that next evolution of kind of knowing when guys are going to be coming on the double team, where to find your shooters, being able to play out of that. So that's the next step in his development that I've seen, especially at Iowa. So. Still love him being a primary scorer and going up and really running the floor pretty well. So still pretty high ceiling for him, which I'm excited about.
We are joined right now by Nicholas Baer, former Bettendorf product, former Hawkeye. I won't keep you too much longer, but Iowa goes out west. They got a game tonight against USC. I don't know how many road trips you guys had like this when you were at Iowa, being able to go to California for a week. What do you expect? What would you expect? How would you prepare for these new trips out west with the Big Ten expanding the way it is?
Well, the first thing is I have to change my bedtime because this is tipping off at 9:30 Central, so I gotta stay up a little later. But I won't miss it. So, but no, I know for this team, like Coach got him out there early. I think adjusting to the time difference, some of those are high priority. The only similarity, we didn't go out west a ton. We did for the NCAA tournament in Seattle, my true freshman year. So I know like the emphasis there, obviously a little different circumstances, but try and get out early, get used to the time zone difference. But on the whole, like, it's winter break right now. These guys don't have class. They're pretty much 100% basketball right now, which is great. And obviously there's some contention around just being in LA right now with the fires that are going on and, thoughts with everybody being affected by those. But for these guys, I mean, you get a chance to be out in California in January and all you're concerned about is basketball. It's not a bad life. It's not a bad life. So I'm excited. I know USC's going to be a tough out. Obviously, they went into Champaign and beat some Illini tail. So I know it's going to be a tough game here against USC. But, Matt, just kind of looking at the schedule here in general, like I think it's a pretty important 5-game stretch here. Obviously, the players got to take it one game at a time. But that's why we get to hop on a podcast and look at games 5 games at a time. Obviously USC, then you got UCLA out there who's reeling, lost six in a row right now. Next 3 games or 2 games at home against Minnesota and Penn State, and then at Ohio State, who's been struggling a little bit too. So a really good opportunity here for Iowa to bolster its NCAA tournament resume. Would be nice with a nice trip out west, potential sweep. But I think getting 4 out of these next 5 would be really, really important.
What would it need? What does Iowa have to do to make this a successful trip out west? What would a split? Obviously winning 2 would be great, but is a split enough if you're Iowa right now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be down in the dumps about a split by any means. Obviously, some new opponents, both just in the conference, but just in general, like new coaching staffs that we're game planning against. It's one thing, to go against, if you play against Purdue or Michigan State, we've been game planning against those guys for decades now. But a couple new teams, new faces, which is great. They got to deal with us as well. But on the whole, I think a split's okay. Obviously, we'd love a sweep, but no need to rain on anybody's parade if it's a split by chance.
All right, before I let you go, You were back in the house at Carver on Saturday. A good crowd, an energetic crowd, but not a full crowd. And I know the students aren't on campus right now and all those kind of things, but it's talked about a lot. How do you energize Carver? How do you get the students there? Obviously, the women's basketball program is doing amazing things, and there's only so much money you can spend on tickets and all those kind of stuff. I get all that, but if they gave Nicholas Baer the key to the castle and let him fix stuff or do things, would you tweak anything or do anything, or how would you help attendance, energy, atmosphere at Carver Hawkeye, a place that firsthand can make a huge difference in a basketball game for the Hawkeyes?
Yeah, the biggest, most important thing, number one, bold, all caps, is get the students closer and get the students engaged. I think, obviously this past game, winter break was there. It's over winter break, so there's not a lot of students there. But on the whole, get a chance to go to some of these other Big Ten arenas. The students are the ones who drive the energy and get people up and get the rest of the arena, up in a frenzy, right? So, the students are kind of the hub there. And right now, just based on, I think, some where the students are sitting, it's, they're kind of pretty far away, not as engaged. Whereas, you look at teams like, Illinois, the Orange Crush right behind your bench, Michigan right behind your bench, Purdue, they're right, on top of the court type of thing. So some of the things, specifically with Carver, you can't fix, right? Just necessarily the layout or anything. But I think there are some things that we can tweak to get the students, one, more involved, and two, more of an impact of the game. So that'd be the first one for me. Obviously, I know, I think this team, on the whole, I understand there's a little bit more apathy towards some of the men's basketball program. Right now, I think this team is an exciting watch. It's a good product. It's something that, especially these last two games, if you had a chance to watch, it's people left Carver Hawkeye Arena that was fun. That was a good time. And to me, I think the biggest way to help just combat some of that is you just got to keep winning. You keep winning, people will show up. If you build it, they will come type of thing. So they have a good home schedule here still. They got Purdue at home, Michigan State at home, Wisconsin at home. There's some really good games, some good weekend games as well. So I'm excited to be back in Carver. But on the whole, I think you mentioned it too. There's some additional, conflicting opportunities between going to watch the women's game, which has been a welcome opportunity for the university. But I think as this continues to progress, I hope there's a little bit more turnout for men's basketball, just because this team deserves it.
Yeah, fantastic. Plug the podcast. I know you've been slacking a little bit, but the 3 Points podcast, tell us about it. How can people listen? All those kind slacking in a nice way, because you're a very busy married man. So your wife, first and foremost,
busy married man.
Very nice to be letting you do these kind of things. So tell us about the podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so 3 Points podcast. It's hosted by myself, my two teammates at Iowa, Charlie Rose and Brady Ellingson. We talking a lot of Iowa hoops. I've had a few different guests on. My goal coming up here is going to be to get a few members of staff on if we can, just to kind of talk about their experiences throughout the season. So Iowa hoops coverage. We also cover the Premier League soccer pretty heavily as well. So we'll mix it up. We got to get a couple new episodes out, but always enjoy getting a chance to talk college basketball, especially this time of year. So really enjoyed this conversation though, Matt. Matt, thanks for having me. I feel privileged to be part of this new generation of Matt Randazzo.
I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see. Before I let you go too, have you thought about doing some of the color commentating kind of stuff? And I don't mean football wise, Anger doesn't, he's an idiot, but you bring a lot of information. You remind me of Jess Settles when I talk to you. Is this something that you can see yourself possibly doing?
Yeah, it's definitely something I've thought of. I think on the as I get a chance to watch college basketball, I think it's something that I definitely could do in the future. I think if the right opportunity presents itself, definitely. I think for me, maybe starting out more a local level, get a chance to kind of get my feet wet that way. But it's definitely something I've thought of, seeing and hearing some of the iconic color commentary voices and some of the really good ones we have right now. I think top one that stands out to me, Robbie Hummel. I feel whenever I get a chance to listen to him, I'm really learning a lot, and having a chance to really impact a generation that would be cool. So definitely something I've thought of. And obviously when I go back and watch any former highlights or anything, hearing the color commentary guys and just adding kind of that insight and everything. So definitely something I've thought of. But yeah, Matt, if you have any leads, if you know anybody, just feel free to let me know.
Dude, I'm unemployed. I need as
I
many
know.
leads as anybody else. So, hey, I appreciate you. We're going to do this often, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm
Awesome.
around. Just let me know, and love to talk Hawks. So
Awesome.
let me know.
He is Nicholas Baer, former Hawkeye, former Bulldog. Congrats on the marriage, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
All right, he is Nicholas Baer. We have a lot more to get to. We've talked Hawks, and a lot of them coming up. We'll get the Illini perspective. They got a big week ahead as well. Kedric Prince and much more still ahead right here on Off the Air. Don't you dare go away.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air. As I look down, Tom, to make sure we're both mic'd up. And I
Am
think
I on
are.
the air or off the air?
You are off the air, on the air. You're on the air, off the air. Anyways, I gotta figure out I gotta put the commercials in different order, because like every time I pay attention to the Snoops one, I get hungry. So yeah, my son had Snoops yesterday. They had them cater their like basketball feed. And so I was like, hey, what do you guys eat? And he's like, Snoops. I'm like, life is good. He just sent back a big old smiley face. So Snoops is good food. Tom Kakert joining me now on Off the Air, sitting in on a Tuesday with me, a Tommy Tuesday. I don't know if it's going to be like Anger Mondays, Tommy Tuesdays, Wild Man Wednesdays is what I'm trying to work on.
As long as there's no Umlin Fridays, we're good.
We'll eventually get Don Umlin on here. Rumor has it he wants to come on the show.
Oh,
that's what he keeps saying on my text messages.
He's all offended.
So Don Umlin is a fantastic referee around the area. Well, I hope he's not listening to this part.
He's okay.
And an umpire and everything else. Good friend of ours. So I'm trying to wait for something, officials related to have him in for. But maybe I just have to. You say no. You say
no. Keep him off until if you beg, you don't get on.
If you beg, you don't get on. We mentioned Dan Burch. I'm efforting to have Dan joining me.
Well,
tomorrow.
Don's not working.
No, 100%.
He's
not
available.
Working. No, not working at all. That's what I mean. I need people to come like hang with me to get me through interviews and all this kind of stuff. And then Dan Pearson is going to join me on Thursday as well. There'll be no show on Friday. I got some family commitments I got to get to and do. So no show this Friday. So we'll have one on Thursday, and then we'll be back on Monday to kind of preview the national championship game and all that kind of stuff, and talk about the Lions going to the NFC championship game and all that kind of stuff. So later on in today's show, we do have Kedric Prince joining us. I know we've had a lot of Hawkeye content so far. So we will chat with Kedric Prince about the Illini. They have a game with Indiana coming up this weekend after losing to USC, which I think surprised the heck out of both of us this past weekend. So Kedric Prince in just a little bit, but it's funny because we were looking, during the Nicholas Baer interview, you're looking at a few things online, and you see, and it's kind of come out more today. And I think we kind of knew this, and you knew this, I know, but like There's now a report on how much money that Mark Gronowski is going to make from the University of Iowa. There was a TV report. Our good friend Chad Leisigo just retweeted it, and in the report it said that he's going to make over $7 million. He's going to make seven figures next year.
Not $7 million.
Yeah, not $7 million, but seven figures. So he's going to make over $1 million.
Yes.
And I think when I read it, I was like, well, wow, that's. But and
it's
you've
the
heard,
going price for a quarterback.
Well, I get that, but it seems like. And I guess one that's thrown for 10,000 yards in his career, but
Cade McNamara did not get that much money.
That's what I don't think you've heard the numbers go with the players accurately.
Even Cade's wasn't even close to that.
Okay, but have you heard you hear some numbers and some that's I think the tough part is
you
never know what's true and what's not true.
I'll give you an example Bo Perbula, the guy that they were very involved with who ended up at Mizzou. He is making over seven figures. So
and that's a guy who's not proven, Tom.
Yeah, who's backup, has been primarily a backup at Penn State. The Carson Beck numbers out there like $3 million, I think, to go to Miami. Holy cow!
Is that a sign of things to come?
That's a sign of things to come.
So see, here's the thing: is we kind of just put those on the wall with the command strips. We didn't do the whole. I've been waiting for that to happen because that happened to me last night when I was up here working.
It's a frightening thing. Wow.
That's live podcasting at its finest. So
that's,
you keep talking about I'm going to put it back up. Keep talking about the number. I can hear you.
Yeah. Well, you saw Carson Beck. He ends up getting $3 million. There was the story last year was that he was getting
come down again, but
$2 million from Georgia. So it's a bad sign when the Iowa thing goes down.
Yeah, right.
When we're talking about
no worries about that injury that we were talking about.
Gronowski getting over $1 million. I mean, that's just the price of doing business today.
So there'll be some fans. You run a fantastically successful site called HawkeyeReport.com.
Marginally successful.
And there's going to be some backlash to that, correct? There's just some old school fans that just are going to hate the idea of a college kid making that kind of money.
Here's the thing. Part of that money is not swarm money. It's going to be the house settlement money or the house case money, which is that is coming out of the university's cut of media rights, and it's going to be $20.5 million going to athletics, going to athletes next year, directly from the university. And of that 20.5, football is going to get about 14, 15, probably closer to 14 than 15 million of that. And then Tyler Barnes is charged with kind of distributing that money as needed.
So I think I read somewhere that maybe 14 million would go to the University of Iowa football program.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't always listening to you. Is there any issues that when you have 105 football players and one guy is getting?
I don't know that he's getting $1 million of that 14,
okay,
because it could be a combination of that house money and money from the swarm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or business relationships side of the swarm, not directly from contributions from fans to just the general swarm fund. It could be in like business relations, like with the IAD truck stop or something, different things that they're doing.
Bigger picture this, Luke Altmaier comes back to Illinois, just using him as an example.
Yeah,
he's getting that amount of money too.
I don't know.
If you're a college football player at a Big Ten school, you should be getting around that type of money, correct?
An established quarterback in the Big Ten or the SEC is probably making over $1 million.
Yeah. Wow, it's a different world we live in.
I'm
not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing.
Who would have thought that was the reality 5 years ago?
I do think that when you look at a Bo Perbula, and you look at the Mark Gronowski, I think, and we'll see when it all said and done, but money better spent by Iowa. Now, obviously, long-term wise, he's only there for a year compared to whatever 2 or 3 that Perbula had, but I feel like money was better spent with the guy that's thrown for over 10,000 yards albeit at a different level than that kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think so, but to each his own.
Time will always.
He may end up being well worth that money too.
So yeah, those are the kind of things. I'm just kind of surprised, Tommy, kind of wrapping that up, that like the numbers, you hear rumors, and that's what I think might be the frustrating thing is there's no checks and balances on there. So you don't know. It's not like if you want to know how much said NFL player is making or said NBA player is making, you go and you know what they're doing and what they're making.
SpoTrack and you look it up on there.
Yeah. You can't do that. Will there ever be a point in college athletics that will be like, hey, Iowa just landed this quarterback commit. Let's go find out the fact checking to find out what he's making.
No, not unless they unionize, start collective bargain, and up being like the NFL, which I think probably they need to do.
No,
they should do.
There's got to be tweaks to this whole thing.
Just because I don't know.
Tweaks,
I know there's people who are against that idea of doing the NFL kind of thing and collectively bargain and all this stuff, but I think there's protections for both sides involved in that, and you have more rules.
I can't believe that the sign fell, or the poster fell, or the picture, I guess, fell while we were talking about an Iowa quarterback.
Bad sign.
Bad omen. Another thing we chatted about during the break was food, because as I mentioned at the start of the show, I've been under the weather for the last couple of days.
You're hungry.
So I haven't eaten a lot lately. And I feel like, one, it's a good thing. I shouldn't eat a lot. I should now use this couple 2, 3, 4 pounds, 5 pounds that I've lost the last couple of days and kind of use that as a jumping off point to get back in shape.
Yeah.
But now I just want to eat all day. And I jokingly brought up something popped up on my phone about Taco John's. And Tom, I feel like you're a food snob, and you're not. But it's just with your stupid opinion when it comes to Chick-fil-A being overrated that I think you lose all credibility.
I'm very I wouldn't say opinionated. I just have views on fast food.
Yes, and I said Taco John's, and I thought you were going to belittle me, and you went,
big fan.
Oh boy, so you'll rock some Taco John's.
Yeah, their tacos are not great. They're okay.
Yeah, they're good.
They're
better than Taco Bell.
Yes.
When it comes to a fast food taco.
Yeah, when it comes to a fast food taco, they're better. The greatest, one of the single greatest fast food items ever is the potato Olay.
It's a top 5, probably a top 3 fast food potato for me.
I will go there just to get the potato Olay.
Yeah. If you go there, you get them fresh. Do you know if you get those, and this is so easy. So I gotta give credit where credit's due.
I like them crispy too.
Yeah, you got to get them fresh right out of the hopper. But if you go get those potato rounds, the frozen bag, and if you fry them and then you just put some Lowry's on them, Lowry seasoning, they taste just like potato Olays, according to Wheezy. And I'm not here to argue with Wheezy when it comes to that. Are you?
No.
So, but I would say so. Then, can you give me a top 5 potato?
Potato Lay's probably 1 on my list.
It's 1, 2, or 3 for me.
Culver's French fries and Portillo's French fries. I like the crinkle cut fry.
Okay.
That's why I like Cane's too, because Cane's is crinkle cut.
Okay. Like if you
know
like
who's
that
near
type of fry.
near the bottom.
McDonald's?
No.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. The waffle fry.
Now the waffle fry for me is a carrier. It carries my sauces, and I appreciate the waffle fry because I can dunk it in the Chick-fil-A sauce, or the Polynesian sauce has been my thing these days.
No.
So okay, crinkle cut. Okay, so you got the potato Olay, you got your crinkle cut nonsense, which I enjoy. Culver's. So where do you put McDonald's? Where do you put Checkers? Because Checkers is an entirely different. And how about this?
Checkers is too greasy usually.
Where do you put Arby's?
I like the Arby's. Arby's curly are right behind the crinkle cut.
And how about this?
And the Hardee's crinkle cut.
So you
Hardee's curly fries are good too.
So people always put they forget about potatoes in the morning.
Yeah.
A McDonald's hash brown is as good as it gets. Sometimes.
But who's way up there? The Hardee's, because they've got the tater tots.
But they're basically just potato Olays, but without the Lowry seasoning.
There's nothing better than tots.
God, I am 1,000% going to Taco John's. It's Tuesday. I'm going to Taco John's
Tuesday.
and I'm getting tacos and I'm going to be back to my original weight by the end of the day, which is too much to say the least. Are there bad potatoes? Besides Chick-fil-A, get off your... It's amazing how we have so much
who doesn't have
except for this Chick-fil-A
you
nonsense.
don't have great fries. Is Five Guys not great fries?
See, I'll have people
soggy.
that'll
and I love
swear by
Five
those.
Guys, and I love Five Guys, but I've had a mixed bag of results with them.
Charlie and I went to Five Guys recently. I would say on a baseball trip last year sometime. I can't remember. We each got a sandwich. We split a fry, and we split a drink because you can go back to the fountain and get. So we just got one drink. It was $32.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me about Five Guys. But I think their fries, I like their fries. And the fact that they spill them in the bag for you makes them even better.
They give you a lot. Yes. But it's just a mixed bag. I've gotten some soggy ones there.
Do you want to know what's got bad potatoes?
What's that?
In-N-Out.
No. Disagree.
They're not good.
Yeah, they are. I just had them in November. Mr. Lystico and I went to In-N-Out, and
I'm not saying In-N-Out is bad in general, but their French fries can be so much better.
Yeah, they're good.
And with Five Guys, they got the potatoes standing there. They're like, hey, this is what we're gonna fry for you right here. That's a plus to it.
Yeah, but disagree. In-N-Out, good.
I'm going to Taco John's after all this is said and done. Tom Kakert joining me right now and off the air with Matt Randazzo. Coming up in a matter of moments, our good friend Kedric Prince will be along to talk about the Illini. I feel like when the Iowa and Illinois only play one time together, against each other in Champaign, would you be willing to do a fun wager with him? I know we've done it in the past in my TV life, but I feel like we can do more.
As long as I get
now.
Points.
Yeah, I think you have to go with what the line is, obviously. Yeah, because they would be right now, if Iowa played Illinois, isn't Iowa...
I can tell you.
Yes, go tell. I'm guessing it'd be like 8.5 in Champaign. Do you think that's too high or too low?
I think that is probably too high.
8?
But let's look.
I guessed 8.5 off the top of my head.
So what I do, for those guessing at home, I go to this wonderful site that Wheezy really likes.
Ken Palm.
It's the great Ken Pomeroy. Ken Palm has Illinois winning 88-78. 10 points.
So you think it'd be 9.5, 10?
Yeah, it'll be 10, I guess. Yeah.
So, anyways, and you never know what happens. What date is that? Does it say on there?
That is February 25th.
I was going to say, I think it's pretty late in the season.
Yeah, they play. Iowa plays at Illinois and then at Northwestern.
I feel like there's something fun we could do with it between you and Ken. Okay. Like something embarrassing.
He won't do it though.
Well,
he won't.
We'll find out. I think for the good of my program,
he's got to wear an Iowa shirt
to work.
Work for the day at Bettendorf.
Mm-hmm. And flip side of it, you'd have to wear an Illini shirt on the show here.
Yeah.
And then where you don't work, so could you wouldn't even, that's not even fair. You can't wear an Illini shirt to Iowa City to cover a press conference.
No.
That's
unprofessional.
Yeah, that would look bad. I understand.
He wears Illinois stuff to Bettendorf all the time.
Okay. Now, full disclosure, because Ked is a hardworking man, unlike yourself and myself, who do nothing. So we recorded the interview you're about to hear with Ked last night. So people are going to watch this and go, why didn't you ask Ked about the wager? But now we can start working down this road. I think it's a good idea. I think it's really a good idea.
Yeah.
And then maybe also the loser puts a pie in the winner's, or the winner puts a pie in the winner's face.
No pies.
You know, I used to do that with Mark Nessler.
I know. I got pictures
Which is now
of
the
you.
fourth time I've mentioned Mark Nessler on the show.
How come you haven't had Ness on?
I actually reached out to him yesterday. We're thinking next Monday because they
Why do you hate Mark
school.
Nessler?
No, they don't have school next Monday.
Oh, it's true.
So I think it's Martin Luther King Day. So
yeah,
I think I'm going to try to see if he'll come out to the house.
What about the Royal Rumble? What did you want to ask?
Yeah, what did I want to ask you? You want to talk wrestling, don't you?
No.
So give us 2 or 3 minutes to be dorks if you're not wrestling fans. And if you if you aren't wrestling fans, you should become wrestling fans because it's outstanding.
Was I'm going to the Royal Rumble.
That's really ticking me off because I went with you 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago.
We went to St. Louis.
It was the worst one.
Me, Larry, your brother Larry, Don,
and yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't go this year because I'm not a millionaire. It's frowned upon when you leave your job to stop spending money. No, I'm just kidding. My son has a basketball tournament that weekend that I got to coach. So I don't want to get too far into it, but it's a short period away.
It's in Indianapolis.
I'm going to effort to figure out, and I know he's super busy, but I've done stuff with Seth Rollins in the past, right here from the Quad Cities, interviews and stuff with Seth. So I'm going to effort a way to get him on before the Royal Rumble.
Can I sit here with a CM Punk shirt on?
I don't think he's going to come into the studio, but I'm hoping to get 20 minutes of him on Zoom some night, and a vMix is what my system's called, and do it. So anyways, it's stacking up to be one of the best Royal Rumbles in history. It's in Indianapolis in like less than 3 weeks, isn't it? Less than 3?
Yeah, less than 3 weeks.
Who wins the Royal Rumble right now as we sit? This is your final one. Men's Royal Rumble, who wins it? And then we'll do the women's one. And then like if like somebody like Wheezy's watching the show right now, he's getting mad. So I don't want to get too down that road yet, but
I am going to say the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble is CM Punk.
Cena, nobody can read that.
No, because Cena's going to be in the
Cena Rhodes main event WrestleMania.
No, because he's going to be in the Elimination Chamber.
Seth screws over CM Punk, preventing him from being in the main event at WrestleMania, which advances their storyline even further, and they have another match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, why are they pubbing Cena to be at the Elimination Chamber? The next pay-per-view.
Could it be?
He's going to be in the Elimination Chamber.
I mean, you have a lot of viable dudes that could easily
win. Could be McIntyre.
I'm mad because I should be going, and I'm not, and that frustrates me. So, it's been a Tommy Tuesday. I think I might.
What about the women's?
I haven't even thought about that.
Becky Lynch.
Is she supposed to be back soon?
Yeah.
How about Seth wins for the guys, Becky wins for the women? If people don't know at home, Seth Rollins from the Quad Cities is married to Becky Lynch. They both have a home here in the Quad Cities.
Yeah.
Make it all QC.
Could be.
Outside interference from Don Umland.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a really good time. I'm so jealous. I'll be watching it at home with JB will come over and his kids, and we'll have some fun. So
there you go.
It'll be good. He's Tom Kakert. If you don't already, check his stuff out at HawkeyeReport.com. He's on Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff. I appreciate you coming in and filling some time with me. And
all good.
We got a lot more to get to because
go Commanders.
The yin to Tommy's yang has always been Kedric Prince in my life because you're the Hawkeye guy. Ked has always been the Illini guy. Coming up after this short break, we will be joined by the one and only Kedric Prince to talk about the Illinois-Indiana game tonight and much, much more. We will be back right after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. and the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air. Thanks for watching. It is Tuesday here in the Quad Cities, a big night of college basketball. We already heard from Nicholas Baer kind of proving the Iowa game. They're out west, a 9:30 start against USC. But a big game earlier in the evening. The Illini look to get back on track after falling to USC this past weekend. They will head on the road once again to renew their rivalry with Indiana. And when it comes to the Illini, there's no better dude to talk to than my longtime friend, Kedric Prince. We haven't always agreed on everything. But here's the thing, Ked. I think we're going to agree a lot in this conversation because I love a lot of the things that Illinois athletics are doing. So first and foremost, always good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year.
Thanks for having me. This is kind of different. I like your new gig here. I've already given you a hard time about those little right there, but I'm going to take care of you and make sure I get you one of those orange ones. You can put it on the side, but at least I want Illinois fans to see a little bit of it.
Hey, I told Cole, I tell you, I'll put Illinois up there. No Bears crap. I will not put any Bears shit up on here, but like Illinois, I got you.
Hey, we get to cuss? Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you can say whatever. I
won't do that.
So like my mom watches, my in-laws probably watch, so I don't like F-bomb it too much or anything like that. But yeah, a few here.
I have students that follow me from school, so I have to be a good boy. I won't do that. I'll do it off air.
Hey, we'll start with Illinois basketball. A big game tonight against Indiana. We'll get to in a second, but take me back to this past weekend because Illinois has been playing so well at a high level. I was surprised to see them stub their toe at home against USC. Obviously without their best player in KJ. What did you see from Saturday, and is there any cause for concern as we move forward?
Matt, would you believe me if I told you I wasn't surprised?
Yeah, I believe you. I didn't.
Because I wasn't. Man, and here's why. I have no life, so I follow sports. I watch any game. It doesn't matter if it's Seton versus Jordan or Wood Intermediate playing Williams in school. I would watch it if it's basketball or football or men's and women. The reason I wasn't surprised, I watched USC go to Assembly Hall and almost beat Indiana. This team has lost some tough games, but they're talented. Musselman is an outstanding basketball coach. Here's the way the Big Ten works or college basketball. Illinois had won 5 games in a row, Matt. It was going to happen at some point in time. It was going to. And all the people out there listening, if you're a Michigan or Michigan State fan, guess what? Kedric's telling you right now it's going to happen to you too. Who it's going to be, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. I mean, Rutgers, two nights ago, they were 8-8, and then they lost to UCLA. They beat UCLA at home. So nobody's going to go to the conference undefeated. I know the Illinois fans were upset. I mean, nobody likes to see your team that you root for or that I cover lose, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. Like I said to you, you're not going to go undefeated.
It's funny because I expected a letdown game from them because they had been playing at such a high level. I didn't expect it at home to USC. I kind of maybe thought it'd be Tuesday, but then I'll flip that around. I wouldn't want to be Indiana tonight. I feel like Illinois is going to play really good basketball. It's a heated rivalry. There's no love lost between the two fan bases. So I'm bullish on Illinois tonight. Let's look ahead to Indiana. They're coming off a big loss to Iowa, one of the largest margin in that series history. What do you see tonight? Assembly Hall, I'm sure, is going to be rocking in Bloomington, Indiana.
Well, that's the concern for me because I just told you, Mr. Loser here, I watched the Iowa and the Indiana game, and trust me, I was pulling for Indiana because the same reason that you think Illinois is going to come out motivated, you don't think Mike Wilson's going to have the Hoosiers motivated, and they're at home. And here's what's tough for Illinois fans, and I don't want you to get mad at Mr. Prince here, but you could potentially lose 3 games in a row because you could go to Assembly Hall and lose, and next Sunday you're going to the Breslin Center to play Tom Izzo. Yeah. And who's at the top of the Big Ten. So it's going to be a tough game, and it's a homecoming game against Luke Goody. They'll get to see him tonight. who knows a lot about Illinois, but fans don't read much into that because what Illinois runs now is not what they ran when Luke Goody was there. So I think that's going to be nice. And I remember when Luke went to Indiana, he was excited because he did not want to go to Champaign. The Hoosiers don't visit Champaign, and that was kind of nice to see. So, but anyway, I'm expecting a good game tonight. I expect Illinois to come out to compete and to play hard. But it doesn't mean if you do that you're going to win the game still, because like I said, Indiana's going to do the same thing.
We're going to talk basketball some more. Kedric Prince joining me now, but I got to stop you with the no life type of thing because you have two awesome kids that you do a lot with, and then you got that awesome grandbaby. So don't act like you don't do anything but watching college. I know you watch golf a lot and golf with Kennedy when there's not a bunch of snow on the ground. So and your kids are two of my favorite
That's
people.
funny.
Yeah, your
That
kids
funny,
are two of my favorite people. So
Matt, that girl had me on the golf course every day this summer. There was times we were on the golf course. We knew rain was coming. We got the cart out. We would hide underneath the shed until it stopped. We golfed probably 90% of the summer. But anyway,
and you showed up at my dad's golf outing. You guys golfed at my dad's golf outing, which was awesome. I always give people shots out on the show that went to my dad's golf outing. So, and I hope you had a good time while you were there. Back to basketball. So give me a big picture on this basketball team. How is Brad Underwood I call him the chameleon of college basketball coaches because he's evolved in so many different ways, Ked. It was transfer portal. Now it's a mix of transfer portal, but now there's some Europeans in there. He finds a way to be successful every year, but it's almost changing every year. How does he do it? And it's been a fantastic start to this season as well.
I don't know who's listening to this show, but I'm going to tell you, whether it's any college basketball coach in the world, Mike Woodson or whoever, they need to take a recipe out of Brad Underwood's book because Brad Underwood is 61 years old. He could be like Tom Izzo. One of my friends, I'm really good friends with, his name is Jeremy Fears Jr. He has two kids that's playing Division I basketball. One is at Michigan State and the other was at Oklahoma. And he told me a lot of the Michigan State fans get frustrated with Izzo because he doesn't change. He doesn't do what Brad Underwood will do. He doesn't believe in the transfer portal. What makes Brad special to me, in my opinion, not because I cover them, he will adapt to anything. You're right. If it's high school and going out getting a bunch of high school kids, or when they had Kofi, it was a slow down game to throw the ball in the post. Or if it's going to the transfer portal, if it's being old and going to the portal to get a bunch of older guys or going overseas, because of the way what he's doing right now is the way the NBA is being played. They spread the floor, and if you know anything about Illinois' offense, they run Oklahoma's offense. And that's in the NBA. That's what they do, and they spread the kick, and it's hard to guard. So he recruits to a style, and it's kind of like he's an educator as far as a principal, because typically they always see the future coming. Brad saw this coming, and he's not afraid to meet the moment. I don't know why some coaches are old school like Izzo, and some guys want to get out. Just adjust to it because everybody's doing it, and it's legal to give NIL. It's not pay for play, but it's legal to go out to do those things, and Brad's not afraid to go do it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He's done a great job changing things around. Kasparis Yakachonis, and I don't know if I got it right. I call him KJ because I'm not on TV every night, so I don't get a chance to practice and rehearse it. But there's a knucklehead named Kedric Prince that I talk to a lot about Illinois stuff, and he's very bullish on a lot of players that commit to the University of Illinois. And sometimes he's right, sometimes he gets carried away. But you kind of nailed this young man. I guarantee you, I got a text from you saying this kid's a lottery pick eventually. And boy, he is. I mean, the hype, he's matched the hype. What have you seen from him? And when it comes to players of the year in the Big Ten, I know it's early, but he's right there in the mix. And Illinois fans better enjoy him because he's probably going to be leaving for a lot more money in the near future.
Well, he's done. I mean, I can tell you right now, there is an NBA scout at that gym every day they practice. Yeah. There's at least 4 or 5 NBA scouts that go to home games, they go to road games. There are teams right now that, I know I'm not going to say one team because I don't want to get in trouble, but there are 1 or 2 teams right now, if they could take him first, if they had the first pick, they would do it. They love his game. His game is suited for the NBA. And you're right, Illinois fans should really enjoy him. Will he win the Big Ten Player of the Year? It's hard for a freshman to do. I know he definitely gets a lot of media love nationally. We do a good job of covering him. He's just special. And to me, when he first got there, I knew how good he was supposed to be, but he kind of struggled a little bit. The turnovers, he was averaging 5-6 turnovers a game. The game that impressed me more than any game, a lot of other fans have different opinions or media people, was the Northwestern game when they lost. That kid that was his coming up alive party for me, because the team was struggling. He was making shots, and he was doing things that he did overseas for Lithuania. He was starting to figure it out. And now he is a tough matchup. And I'll tell you, the thing I like about him, you don't see it a lot on TV, but if you're in person, teams know how good he is, Matt. So some of these guards know where his draft status is, and they do a little chirping, talking to him. He got a little swag to him. He chirps back because he knows where teams guard him, the way they push him and talk to him. So I like that a little bit about his game, but he's going to make a lot of money. And this is another feather in Pat Underwood's cap. This guy's been there for 7 years. He's got Big Ten tournament titles. He's got a #1 seed. He's had All-Americans. He's had all-conference players. Now, to his resume, he's going to have a lottery pick. And he's had 2 other guys drafted in Terrence Shannon and Aldo Sumo. So Brad is getting it done. Whether you like Illinois or not, that dude has done a wonderful job of recruiting and bringing Illinois basketball to being respectful again.
Okay, now my next question is probably like asking you who your favorite kid is, which is Kennedy. We all know that. But Io, KJ.
Depends on the day.
Io, KJ, Kofi, D, Terrence Shannon. Where does KJ fit in this mix of guys that you've covered, guys that have played at the University of Illinois? Now, mind you, it's going to be a smaller sample size because it's only going to be for a year, and some of these guys I just talked about were there for several years. But where is he in that lineage of really good Illinois basketball players?
Boy, that's a tough question. Usually when I get these interviews, I have an idea of what people are going to ask. And this one, because it's hard to answer because I'm trying to keep my personal feelings out of it, number one. So my favorite player to ever play basketball in Illinois, it was always one guy, but then it became a tie. My favorite player of all time was Kenny Battle, and then the next guy was Terrence Shannon Jr. I have to be honest with you. I'm not saying they were the best players, but I like the motor for those guys. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, it's hard to say because he's only been there for 1 year. And I think, and when you look at Terrence Shannon, who just broke a ton of records within 2 years at Illinois, to say Kasparis is going to go down as one of the best players because Nick Anderson was a lottery pick, I believe, and I know Darren Williams, who had a great career as well. That's another guy who's an Olympian. So I would put him in the top 10, top 15, but if you look just strictly numbers, he doesn't meet that criteria. Yes, he's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, but when you got guys like Kendall Gill and those guys, or D. Brown and Darren Williams averaging 18, 19 points a game, and I don't think KJ is going to be a first-team All-American. I really don't. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there, and these other guys were.
And I think if he was here for a sophomore year or longer, then we can keep him in that conversation. I know you're always bullish on the Illini, but what's the ceiling? What's the floor for this team, and what's the ceiling for this team?
Oh, another good question.
See, I didn't retire. I didn't retire yet. I'm still in my prime, baby.
The national media thinks they can win it all because they went out there and they just laid the wood to Oregon. Yeah. Everybody, they broke records. Everybody saw that. And if you think about it, for the fans who don't remember that game, they broke a record, as far as scoring the most points against the top 10 team in the country. You got to realize KJ sat out the whole first half. And so they still scored 116 points. So the ceiling is really high, Matt, but it just depends on if you're going to get the effort that you got Saturday. They lost Saturday strictly because they felt because they beat Penn State, they were going to just walk in and USC was going to lay down.
Show up and
yes,
that'd be good.
But so to answer your question, that's what a young team would do. Last year's team with Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins and Luke Goody and Marcus Domask, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. So that's my concern moving forward is because they're talented. And if they get the right draw and they're shooting the basketball, there's nobody in the country that can beat them. But also, if you go out there and you just look at the name on that jersey, you can go home the first weekend.
Yeah. Last basketball question for you. It's Indiana tonight. I kind of want a prediction, but along with that, talk to me about this rivalry because I know, and it's okay, I know you hate hate Iowa, and there's no love loss with Indiana. What's a bigger rivalry when it comes to college basketball? Probably in this area, in the Quad Cities, it might be Iowa, Illinois, but what's the biggest rivalry between these two?
Between Illinois and Indiana, or just Illinois in general?
Is Illinois Indiana a bigger rivalry to you? Illinois Iowa a bigger rivalry to you? Because there's no love loss between the Hoosiers and the Illini.
No, there's a lot of bad blood, and I don't know if Illinois fans remember this, but when Mike Woodson got hired, I was kind of upset. He took a shot at Iowa, saying he didn't know who Iowa Dusuma was.
I do remember.
Me personally, this is just Kedric. I'm getting old, man. You can probably see the white hairs in my beard. The word hatred is not a good word for me. I dislike. When I was 25 years old, the word hate was in my dictionary. My rivalry right now is Purdue. That is one fan base that the reason being is because Illinois and Purdue has owned the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They have dominated the Big Ten for the last 4 or 5 years. The Indiana rivalry with Bobby Knight and Eric Gordon, I don't even know if my kids were born then. So I got over that stuff, and Indiana hasn't been very good. So sorry, Hoosier fans, I don't consider you really a rivalry because, yes, you've beaten Illinois a few times, but Illinois kind of owned Indiana. So Iowa, to me, because they haven't been very good, I don't really care about them that much. I just don't. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Harding. I love you, but I'm just not – and the Freeman family. I like those guys too. But my point is, right now, I think it's Purdue because Purdue has been that team. So going into the season, if you asked me that there was one team on that schedule I want to beat more than anybody, I would say Purdue. I really would. Because their fans have been great.
Give me a score for tonight.
Illinois 89, Indiana 76.
Ooh. I do think
Illinois
they
score
win.
some points, man.
I do think they win, and I get the bounce back game for Indiana, but man, I didn't see anything out of them on Saturday to make me think that they're gonna be able to right the ship and beat a pissed off Illinois team. And I think that's what Brad Underwood's gonna have these guys is pretty pissed off. Let's stay with the basketball theme, and a person that you and I both love. She's been really good to me, and I know she's been really good to you. Is Shauna Green. That program beat that Iowa program last week. I know they've had some injuries and some bumps in the road, but they've have themselves the right person when it comes to Illinois women's basketball, don't they?
You know what? I'm going to take my media hat off. Just this one part of the show. I love that lady. She's awesome. She is a classy woman. I don't know what the future holds for her, but the day she leaves, I'm going to probably start crying like my 2-year-old grandson because she is a classy woman. She does things by the book, and she's just professional. And Illinois got really, really lucky when they hired her. I just have the utmost respect for her. She does things the right way. She's really passionate about her job. Illinois women's basketball stunk. I mean, spell it out. They stunk before she got there. She immediately turned them into being respectful. Lisa Bluder said it best when Illinois beat them 2 years ago in Champaign. She told the girls, I remember reading this in one of her quotes in the press conference, this isn't the same Illinois team that you've seen for the last 10 years. You're going to have to play to be Shauna Green. She runs good stuff. She's adjusting. She has 7 healthy players right now, and she beat an Iowa team, which this isn't the same Iowa team, let's face it, but it was still a very good Iowa team that she beat. So and on top of it, right now, she has the 7th best recruiting class in the country. This is Illinois basketball we're talking about. So she signed 4 top 100 players, and that tells you that kids want to play for her.
No, I completely agree. She's been great to me, and I think she brings energy to a program that needs it. I'm going to effort to try to get her on this show. I think she'd do it in a heartbeat. So I know she's a little busy right now with everything going on. But, and normally, Ked, I'd say we're running out of time because I'd have the TV restrictions. I can go as long as I want on this thing, and I do want to talk to you about football. Coach Bielema, and we won't talk long about it. Cole Rusk, we talked with him last week. If you want to see that interview, go to the YouTube page. But a fantastic 10-win season, first time since 2001 they won 10 games. And but what I like the most about it is that there was no parade in Champaign. There was no yes, we won 9 regular season games and won a bowl game and we're good to go. They're immediately talking about the future. What is the future for Illinois football? And I have the feeling, I don't know if 10 wins a season is what's going to happen, but 7, 8, 9 wins a season should be expected, and then you're going to have those years of some special years. He's got things going in a great direction, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Let me give credit to the athletic director at the University of Illinois. You started this show with Brad Underwood, and arguably one of the best coaches in college basketball. Then you went to Shauna Green, who's done remarkable things and beat ranked teams, and her team was ranked, whatever. Then you hire Brett Bielema, another home run hire. Things are in a good place right now for Illinois. And the thing with Brett Bielema, Matt, to me is, I remember having a conversation with one of our buddies, Tom Kakert. Tom Kakert, when Illinois hired Brett Bielema, he wasn't mad, but he made the comment, I'm disappointed because that's who I wanted to replace Kirk Ferentz. And that makes sense because he was an Iowa guy. Illinois football is not going to stink anymore as long as he's there. So I'm sorry, Iowa fans. The days of just watching a 2-9 team, 12 team, whatever the case may be, 2-10 team, those days are done. That dude is a masterful recruiter. One of the jobs that I do is recruiting. Every kid that I talk to, even if the kid has committed or not, Matt, those kids love him. They believe in him. He's passionate about what he does. And most of the Illinois fans that you have friends that are fans, they will tell you, they just want Illinois to be Iowa and Wisconsin. Win 7, 8, 9 games. Go to a bowl game. Just be competitive. Don't do what Lovie Smith did when I was playing you and you win 62 or 6 or 2 or whatever. Those days, that was hard to watch. Under Brett, because he has a roster, he has a plan, he has a system, he has good schemes, and they're going to be competitive. And right now, if you look at next season, they returned 18 out of 22 starters. People think they're going to be a top 15 team in the country. They were 20th when they beat South Carolina. So they're going to move up in the polls. They'll be good, and that's what you want.
I've been saying that Coach Bielema gives this program a personality. You saw the stuff during the bowl game and not backing down and having a little swagger. Illinois football hasn't had a personality for as long as I can remember. And I feel like he's given them a personality. Is that correct?
Yeah, because they have an identity. You're going to have to play Illinois. They're physical. You're going to have to outscore them, and they have a good scheme. What he does, he really hires good coaches. He has good assistant coaches that believe in what he's telling them. He doesn't hire people because it's a name, a flash name, in the pan. You have to be somebody that's loyal to him, and he'll take care of you. So it's a system, and it's a guy that, you're right, he's really good with the media. I love the fact that he's on social media tweeting. I think that's good. The kids like that. The recruits like that. Yeah. They like seeing a guy. I mean, one of the guys they committed to them, his name was Shaw, I think, and he was at the bowl game. And I asked him about it. He was like, he's a Florida kid. And he was like, I thought that was awesome what he did when he went over to taunt the South Carolina bench. I shouldn't use the word taunt because he was right, but I guess you can argue that for another day. But my point is, they like that. He is a guy, his birthday was 2 days ago. I think he's 55, 56 or something. And he's young and he's energetic and he gives them that face. And people are going to have to know when you play Illinois now, it's not the same. And most of the coaches, Shauna Green and Brad Underwood, have both said, to me personally, when you talk to recruits, Ked, or when you do this, we don't care about the past. That's done. This is a new regime. And Brett Bielema will tell anybody that. So I like that. The days of just, losing, they're done.
I'll tell you this too. I'd never seen a time where Illinois football dominated my Twitter than I did when he quote unquote taunted, South Carolina. That's a good thing. Everybody was talking about Illinois football. That's
nationally.
Whether it's good news, bad news, and that wasn't bad news, but any controversy, a little controversy, it's not always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. And I think that's what I like to see about that program. Efforting to get Coach Bielema on. I think next week we're going to have Luke Altmaier on the show. So a lot of Illinois stuff to get to. See, you would think I'd start my own show and I would just talk Iowa nonstop. Look at me. I'm all Illinois.
Listeners out there, I'm going to tell you right now, Matt's lying. I had to call and ask him to be on the show.
Stop it.
He's lying. He didn't call me.
I got to pay you. You're the only person so far I got to pay.
Stop. I don't get paid. My daughter's like, he's not even paying you. What are you doing this for? I'm like, because I don't eat Whitey's anymore. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll get a piece of lettuce or something.
I'll get you hooked up. Hey, I'm happy to see you're healthy. I know you went through some things over the holidays. You look good. Yeah. I always appreciate you. And we're going to do this a lot. I'm going to be bugging people so much because they're going to be like, why is Ken on again? But you're my Illini guy and you're a good friend, and I always appreciate you. Be well, my man.
Thank you.
All right. He is Kedric Prince. Make sure you follow him on social media and all the great stuff he does at Illini Guys. No guy I know is more connected and hooked up with Illinois sports than Kedric Prince. Hey, we got a lot more to get to. It's a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad Cities' best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. It is a Tuesday here in the Quad Cities, wrapping up an edition of Off the Air. We want to thank Tom Kakert for joining us live in studio, talking a little Hawks and about everything else we could think of. Also want to thank Nicholas Baer for being on today's show. Make sure if you're interested in Nicholas's podcast, it's the 3 Point Podcast. Make sure you check that out. Nicholas Baer doing some really good things. Brought a lot of information, a lot of facts to today's show. Appreciate Nicholas Baer. And of course, you just heard him, Kedric Prince, talking the Illini. It's a big night of college basketball, the Illini in action. Also coming up tonight, the Iowa Hawkeyes are out west at USC. It's a late game, a 9:30-ish type of start. So we'll kind of wrap them up tomorrow, talk more about those two games tomorrow, see if the Illini and the Hawkeyes can both get victories on the road in the Big Ten. Also coming up later this week, I'm super excited to welcome Dan Pearson onto the show, a mentor of mine, someone who I have the utmost respect in. We'll talk Quad City athletics and the coverage of Quad City athletics and a whole bunch more with Dan Pearson right now with FCA. So we'll talk with Dan coming up on Thursday, efforting tomorrow to line something up with another mentor of mine, Dan Burrich. We'll talk to the Wild Man hopefully coming up tomorrow. If not, we'll get him on real soon to talk about everything in the world of sports. I don't know if you remember this, but Dan Burrich has a lot of opinions. We hope to get a lot of those from Dan coming up real soon. Also, tomorrow on the show, we will talk with Fritz Diodone. He is the Rock Island head football coach, but he was the Alleman football coach when Charles Jugasaw was at Alleman. Charles and the Fighting Irish getting ready to take on Ohio State in the national championship game. So we'll get his perspective of Charles Jugasaw, of course, coming off that injury and getting ready for a national championship, made an impact in the semifinal for sure. So we will catch up with him. Working on some other things later on this week. Don't forget, coming up on Friday, there will be no show. Got some family stuff I got to attend to. So no show on Friday, but we'll be back on Monday. So we got a show on Wednesday and Thursday for you. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is also going to be up on all the podcasting platforms except for Apple. We are working on that. Hopefully we'll get that done real soon. And of course, if you haven't told a friend or two already, please let them know that we're doing the show. We would love their support, trying to get as many followers, subscribers, all that fun stuff as possible as we talk Quad City and local sports each and every day right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you back here again tomorrow.